I'm really good with computer software and I'm pretty good printing plastic. But one thing I know, if I ever want to be like a real Tony Stark and build me some real armor, I'm going to have to get a little bit less cosplay and a little bit more hardcore metal. And that is where this shipment right here comes in. This is a shipment from my new friends at Art Captain. Art Captain contacted me, said, hey, would you like to review some of my products? I said, I have no idea how to do metalworking, but I would love to learn. So I checked out Art Captain. They're all over the internet. A lot of people have tried out their stuff and the reviews have been really good. So I went ahead, jumped in, and they sent me both of these to get started with metalworking. So what do I have here? So first of all, I have the Art Captain plasma cutter. This is my first plasma cutter, which makes me super excited. This is a great way for me to get started with metalworking. I got a project idea that I have in mind for this, and I cannot wait to get started. I say, guys, if you're going to send me some equipment, I need the safety tools to do this right as well. And so they also sent along this Art Captain Auto Darkening welding helmet to get me started. Now, there's going to be a few more items I have to get started, but let's go ahead and do this unboxing right here, see what Art Captain sent along, see what's in the box, and then I will tell you how you can get one of these yourself to get started. You can follow along this process with me. Let's get going. First of all, the Art Captain plasma cutter. Let's take a look. What's in the box? Oh, heavy duty gear here. First of all, I have, which I believe is called the torch. The torch comes in this bag right here. Let's take a look. This is pretty heavy duty. Now, again, I have no reference point except for all of the videos I've watched over the years of other people doing this and, you know, what I think I have to do this job. So let's go and take a look. This is a pretty heavy duty looking torch, cabling, everything I need to hook it up to the main assembly. There we go with that. And then I have here what looks like possibly a couple of different nozzles and yeah, tools to assemble all of that. There we go. All right, next up, we have hosing, tubing, hosiery. We have hosiery. Next up, we have some hosiery clamps to go with that. And let's see what this is. We've got jumper cables. Well, obviously, it's not jumper cables. This is going to be our grounding cable that we are going to hook up to our metal surface that we're going to actually be doing our plasma cutting on. That's what this is for. Next up, a shoulder strap. So we can, you know, carry it around and do our plasma cutting. Let's, want to do this way? Maybe? See if I don't drop anything. Looks like it comes with a cover for our Captain plasma cutter. The handle's on top. That makes this easier. There we go. That's a nice little piece of equipment. Oh, there's some other stuff in the bottom here. So we'll save that for 1 minute. Save that too. So, as you can see right here, we actually can run this off of 220 or 110. There's our 220, and it comes with an adapter to go to the 110. I don't have 220 in my garage yet. Again, I'm new at the welding scene and have never needed a 220 in my garage before. Light. It's got, this is where our air hose is going to come in. Again, the hosiery. It's got where our air hose comes in. It's already got the filter here to get the moisture out of that air. It's got our pressure gauge on here. It looks like everything we need to get started. I think the only thing I'm going to need is going to be a few pieces of safety equipment from where I'm going to go to learn how to do anything. I'm going to start at Harbor Freight. I'm going to pick up some of the equipment there to do this. We're going to, you know, get the safety equipment. We're going to get a nice metal table to start this arc welding adventure. And I already have what I was about to say. We already have the air compressor that I'm going to need to run this. You have to have compressed air. That's what goes in here. Again, I don't even know if I'll need this tube. I have some of my own air compressor fittings, and so we'll test that out. Everything that is on the table hooks up right here in the front of this unit. We will get into that when I get everything hooked up. But now, most people don't get excited over safety equipment, but I have never owned a welding helmet, and I'm happy to say that that changes right now, and I'm happy that they were able to send this along and let me try out their auto darkening welding helmet. Comes in a nice bag. Check that out. Please remove film. So it comes with, I don't know if these are extras, because there's two of them here. Maybe a couple of extra protectors there. I do like the bag this comes with. Dust, debris, stuff when you're not using the helmet is a real problem. So I'm glad that they come with the protective bag here for me to keep everything nice. And check that out. Not only so yeah, it does. This is a couple of replacement shields for here in case these get damaged in some way. I have to say the design on here, very cool. kind of metalworking, kind of steampunky maybe. I like that a lot. It gives it a little bit of flair. Not much to this really. It comes with tape along the back and some settings, I believe, that I'm going to have to learn all about. But it's got different shade settings, grind settings, weld settings, different shade levels. And then this just plugs onto my head. So one thing we got in this box, again, we have another they've got multiple different levels of film in here. There's another one inside the helmet. You got another extra one here. This is really cool. So there was the same set in this box. So these are the instructions for the plasma cutter. They have some very cool stickers on here. Check those out right there. Get rid of the glare. Very cool stickers. They say certified badass welder, welder top one, Flash Life Art Captain. I am a dad and a welder. Nothing scares me. And support your local welder. I like the stickers. They both came with those sets of stickers. We have instruction, user manuals for both of these, and I am ready. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges I've had with this plasma cutter thus far, which, let's be honest, I've done very little more than to unbox it, is the fact that it comes with this cable. And this cable is not the kind of cable that I use on my air compressor. So I had to see if I could find the way to adapt it to my quick connect fittings that I use. These are 1/4 inch quick connects. And the main reason was the fittings that are on the back of the plasma cutter are like this. They are the press fittings. And I tried to get those off and I did not want to break it before I even had a chance to use it. Otherwise, I would have just changed the fittings on the back of the plasma cutter to be the quick connects. But again, I didn't want to mess anything up before I even found out whether it worked right. So I didn't know which size hose this was when I bought it. In fact, this is a metric hose, and the only thing that they sell at my local Harbor Freight is the our typically imperial size unit. So I didn't know which size would be right. I got the 1/4 inch and I got the 3/8 inch. We're going to try both of those and see which one fits better. And then I have the quick connect adapter to just screw onto the back of one of these, which should work just fine. So let's give that a shot, see if we can get going. I'm going to try the 3/8 first and we'll go with that. So 3/8, can I even get that in there? Yes, I can. So that means I will probably go with the 3/8 because that's going to be a much tighter fit and give me more airflow in there because that's a bigger hole than the 1/4 inch is. All right, got that all the way on. Grab one of the hose clamps it came with. All right, that should be good and on there. And like I said, I've got this adapter for my quick connect, 1/4 inch adapter. All right, a little bit of thread seal. Otherwise, this metal on metal connection will leak. Tighten that down, plug it in, and I will see if it holds air. Holding pressure at about 55 PSI. So that's good. Holding pressure, not hearing any leak. All right, let's talk safety. So I believe I've got all the safety equipment I'll need to get going. You'll see I went and I changed into a long sleeve shirt to protect my arms from the UV light as well as from the sludge and stuff that may come off of this. I have some nice leather welding gloves. I bought some TIG gloves. They seem like they would do the job. I have a fire-resistant apron, at least I believe it to be fire-resistant apron. I have, of course, the mask that they sent me, and I went and I set the shade to the appropriate levels according to the manual that this came with. So that should be set properly. And I have my plasma cutter here. And you saw here at the beginning where I laid down a fire-resistant or fireproof covering on my surface here. I don't want to leave little marks all over my driveway. That won't be good for me. So I've put that down to hopefully protect the driveway as I do this. In the back of here, you'll notice that our captain has been nice to include a setup guide in the back, which basically tells me the appropriate PSI for the air compressor. And I did notice this was set on 55 PSI, which is the correct PSI for, according to this, everything. So we're going to go with that. We're going to go with their setup guide since I don't know any better. And apparently for all materials, I can set this to 35 amps. And keep in mind, I'm at 120 volts. It would be different. I think it's 55 amps. Yeah, it's 55 amps if you are running 240 volts. So that's what I've got going to set up here. I should be ready to go at this point. So I'm going to get geared up. We're going to get this turned on. I'll show you the interface a little bit. Again, not an expert at such things. I'm just learning, but I'll show you what I've got here. We're going to set it up correctly. And I've got a handful of different metals here that I'm going to try using with this for my first cuts. And then I should have a cool project that I've planned out, and we will see how this thing does on what should be a pretty easy cutting task, but it may be a little bit of work because I've given myself some cool cuts I have to do to pull this off. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I've got my cabling. Let's figure out how to get all of this plugged in. I have, first of all, this is the ground cable. Looks like that goes on top most likely. So let's plug in the ground. Let's just get it in there and twist. I don't feel a click or anything, so I think that's it. And the ground is going to connect to the table, and as long as my metal is touching the table, it will be grounded properly for the arc. So that's going to go right there. And then for this piece, we have several different parts here that have to go in. It's got a little plug on there. Yep, a little plug. It's going to come off. I'm going to screw that in here. The red one is going to get on here. We pull the nut off of there, and then we attach that, and then we put everything back together. I'm putting the washer on top because I think that's how it will get the best connectivity. And then the final black wire is going to go here. It is keyed with the key up, and that's going to go right there. So now my ground and my torch should all be connected properly. Let's get a good look at what that looks like. All right, let's see how everything is looking. Here we've got, this is the ground. We've got the torch plugged in here, got the red wire and the black wire, and everything plugged in the way it should be. Now I think we're ready to cut this thing on. First of all, let's get our peely off. Throw that aside, not on the table. And let's cut it on. So switch in the back. I've already got it plugged in. Yep, switch in the back. Let's go live. Heard a click, I heard another click, and there we are. It's already set at 35 amps. We got a fan. Modes. You know what? I'm not going to touch anything. I think it's where it should be. That will turn it down, but 35 is peak. So let me get everything on, grab a piece of metal, clamp it down, and we will get started with my very first plasma cut. All right, so my camera lost power right after I did my first two cuts. Not related to anything other than a extension cord that's too short. So I may or may not have lost that footage, but we got plenty more we're going to do. But let me show you my first two cuts here. The first one is the one that's closest to me, and then the second one's further away. Second one, I did a lot better, and you can actually see through that cut. I'm going to see if I hit this one with a hammer, if it'll fall off, if it actually did go all the way through or not. I did find out my little pancake stepper here. A 6-gallon is definitely going to be a challenge when I have to cut for too long at a time. I realized that that was going to be a problem, but wasn't going to invest in anything new yet. So let me see what the hammering does here. Definitely didn't get through that one. I'm going to try again since I may have lost that. Do not blame the machine for my lack of skill. Again, as we're talking about lack of skill, I'm getting a lot of slag on my tip there. Probably need to go find me a wire brush real quick so I can clean. Okay, so to be honest, while starting with a 1/4 inch probably was safe, it's definitely not easy. It's a very thick metal, and I'm having a tough time finding the right speed to get through this one, and to be honest, I'm making a mess. So let me take a look at the first few cuts. You can see I've definitely, first one went way too fast. Second one, I've made a mess of it because I've tried to cut it like 3 times and it hasn't done anything. And then the last one, actually I didn't do too bad, but I'm ending up with quite a bit of slag there. Ooh, that's hot. Anyway, okay, we're gonna try this again. So this time I have 1/8 inch flat bar aluminum. And I've even given myself a nice little line here to try to follow. We're gonna see if we can get a good arc off of this and follow a much thinner piece of metal. Well, that answers that. That went straight through. It's actually a pretty nice clean cut. Honestly, just if it wasn't for the slag on the bottom, I think this would be pretty good for a second try. Yeah, check that out. All the way through, I did a pretty good job of following my line, except for right there at the beginning. Got some slag on the bottom, but that just means I probably could have gone faster. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna draw another line. I'm gonna try to go a little bit faster because that actually cut really quick. In fact, I had to speed up part of the way through because I was surprised at how fast. All right, new line drawn. Let's give this one a shot. Go a little bit faster this time. So I can cut down on that slag and just do. All right, second time through, much faster. Slag looks, I don't know, what do you think? A little bit better? Maybe I could still go even faster, or maybe that's just what it's gonna look like. We'll say the cut looks a lot better on the, All right, so next up on the table, I have 2 different pieces of square tube. I've got a 1 inch square 18 gauge steel, and I have a 3/4 inch square 1/16 gauge aluminum. And given how fast that last one cut, this should be pretty quick, at least with the aluminum. It'll be a good next step. And again, I'm also, since I'm a newbie here, I'm not sure if this will cut all the way through the whole piece of steel or if I'm going to need to rotate it as I go. If I had to guess, I'm going to need to rotate. All right, so the question is, will the Cut 55 Pro cut? Yes, it will. Will it make you a master plasma cutter? No, no, it won't. I am clearly a noob at this, and my cuts look absolutely terrible. And same thing here, absolutely terrible. I'm still learning when to start and stop and how to do that correctly, but I will say it will cut, and it will cut very quickly. One thing I'm actually really surprised by is how much power this thing has. I can go really fast with this, definitely with the aluminum. It's very quick. And even with the steel, with this smaller gauge steel, it's going really fast. And you saw with that aluminum bar, it's cutting really well. And that's what was that, 1/8 inch? Yeah, that's 1/8 inch. Now that I've done this for a minute, will I have any more luck with the 1/4 inch steel plate or not. This one, by the way, this 1/4 inch was the thickest I could find at my local hardware store in the small amount of time I had to do this. And honestly, given the fact I'm still learning, didn't want to spend any extra money on thicker pieces of steel that honestly, I currently don't even have a project where I'd use anything thicker than a 1/4 inch. So this was really what I needed for this test. So let me play with this a little bit. If you'll just watch a little bit of cutting here while I give it a shot, and you can see how it goes. Maybe I can get one to break off. I'm just going to play with cutting around with this, and we'll see how it does, see if I get any better on something this thick. And then we'll go straight into the project I have planned, and we'll see if I can cut a straight line. Okay, so while that was going great, that was me tripping a 20 amp breaker that is in my garage. So clearly need to beef that up a little bit. But it was going really well until then. So it honestly wasn't pulling too much current until it was. That cut looking way better than my previous ones. So let me see if I can continue this cut, or maybe the thicker. All right, so while I clearly had some problems towards the end, I will say I'm very proud of this midsection here. That cut was looking really good. I was in a groove, I was going at the right speed. I saw that flame coming out the bottom, and I knew that this was good. Still had a problem with this starting. I had a problem right here for some reason, and towards the end, I was losing flame and just having a bunch of problems. I'll have to learn how not to do that. But like I said, that's a really nice cut, and I'm really proud of that one. So I got through the 1/4 inch, even with my lack of skill, which I'm very proud of, and I have to say that the R Captain is doing really well here. So let me go ahead and bring out the project. We'll take a look at what I'm going to be doing. All right, so let's talk about this metalworking project I have. So right here, I have a piece of 16 gauge sheet metal. So this is steel, at least I sure hope. Yes, it's plain steel. Again, this is a very thin piece. I've already shown that I can cut much thicker, and I've already shown that this thing does a really good job of cutting through the thin pieces of steel without any problems whatsoever. So that's the piece I'm going to do this project out of. So what do I have? So I've heard that it is really good to learn how to trace when you are learning to plasma cut, because if you can trace a straight line or a curved line, well, that's what you're going to be doing with this tool. So I have created me a Stark Industries template here that I need to assemble. I need to cut out and then trace onto the metal, and then I'll have me a very cool, if I succeed, Stark Industries sign to hang in my garage as my first plasma cutting project. So I'm not going to bore you with this part. Again, I printed this out on multiple sheets of paper, and then I'm going to tape it together, cut it out, trace it down. I'll show you the traced piece, and then we'll go straight into cutting, and we'll see what I end up with. I have high hopes, but reasonable expectations. All right, so if you're watching all of that, you saw I made the executive decision about halfway through cutting this one out that to start with the entire thing before I even know if this is possible, either between the machine, plasma cutting in general, and obviously my beginner skill set, I didn't want to go ahead and cut all of this out and then find out that was a huge waste of time because I'm not quite ready for something like this. But I feel like this is a pretty large shape. As long as how close things are together, don't give me a hard time, I think this will work out. So let me go ahead and get this off of here, and let's see if I can plasma cut myself an arc reactor. I will have to fix some of the lines up here. Let's see how this goes. All right, as you can see, my instinct that I probably didn't want to do the whole sign was well placed. This is the final results of this first project. There we go. Hopefully you can see that okay. And I'm really happy with this, to be honest. It obviously did not turn out beautiful, but for a first plasma cutting experiment, I'm really happy with this. I got the basic shape. I learned a lot. I learned I could turn down the machine a little bit to be able to go a little bit slower. And one thing I was well aware of was that I'm a noob at this, and it's going to take some time to be able to find the proper pacing based upon the material, to learn how to get the torch to slide smoothly across the material. There's a lot I can learn here, and I think it's just going to take some time pacing myself, going through some material just to learn. Maybe I can find me a local welding shop that will donate some scraps so that I can actually play and learn how to do this properly. Let me show you this up close. I am not disappointed with this. This is definitely an arc reactor. It's got some problems. It's been through some things. Backside of this looks pretty good. I can say there's not a whole lot of sludge on the back of this, so I did pretty good going at the right pace. It's just a thin piece of metal, and the right pace is pretty fast. So I think if I turn this down too much more at this point, it would make it difficult, and the arc would not be there. I'm at 25 amps right now, so I'm really happy with this. I want to thank Art Captain for sending this over. The Cut 55 Pro was a fantastic machine to start learning on. It seems to be doing its job. It came with everything I needed to get started, some extra consumables as well. They sent along the safety gear that I needed. Ultimately, the only thing I ended up buying was the metal, and I got the table and some of the safety equipment like the gloves and stuff at Harbor Freight. The apron here came from Amazon. So just giving you all that in case you're looking for it. Hopefully I'm gonna have a coupon code for you, and definitely a link to the Cut 55 Pro. They have been really great working with me. I've had some surgery. I've had a hurt wrist that has made this take longer. I got this like last year, and then through some medical things, they have been a fantastic company to work for. So I do want to send a shout out to the team over there for making this a really enjoyable process of learning. They didn't put pressure on me to get this video out any faster than I could. So thanks to them for being a fantastic partner. Go check them out. Go check out the Cut 55 Pro. Fantastic plasma cutter. I've been very happy with it for this learning experience. Go check out all the other videos on YouTube and other socials where other people have checked this out with a lot more experience than me. This was my learning tool. But there are a lot of pros using this thing, and they seem very happy with it too. So again, hey, thanks for watching Kersey Fabrications. Thanks for hanging out, waiting on me as I wanted to get some of this new content up, but I've gone through some things that have taken a little bit longer. But I do appreciate you watching this one. Thanks again. I'm Chris. This is Kersey Fabrications, and I will see you in the next video when I take, hopefully, a further look at this or maybe some other tools from Art Captain. Thanks, everybody. And if you were wondering why I put down the fireproof mat, there you go. There's the
sludge and crud that would have been all over my driveway. This will make it a lot easier to clean up.